get to collect for where the different
Good evening, everyone. You're welcome to the program Youth and the Future live on Cybercrime TV. I am your uncle, Okere Chimaruki Chibuze. Thank you for joining us. On my left and right, I have two young gentlemen that will be dissecting the issues that we'll be talking about today. On my left, I have a young politician. He's a young entrepreneur, social and political analyst, a public commentator from Rivers State, a graduate of the University of Port Harcourt, a former student union leader and secretary of SUG, University of Port Harcourt. He's currently the Rivers State Secretary of the Unity House Foundation, UHF, a non-governmental leadership training and advocacy group with major focus on public enlightenment, citizens sensitization, good governance, and skill development. You are welcome to the program, Azunda Gospel.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And on my right, I have another young politician from Rivers State, a graduate of Business Administration and Management Science, former Director of Socials, National Association of Business Administration and Management Science, student Covenant Polytechnic, Abia State, former North Secretary General, Abia State Chapter, and later became the president of that union. He has also operated in different capacities for the governorship candidate of APC in Rivers State, Architect Tony Gold, in 2019. He is currently seated as the CEO of the Characterize Concept, a company that's into interior, decorative painting and design, screening, industrial cleaning, and general concepts. You're welcome to the program, Charles Potter.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Today we will be discussing on drug abuse, youth participation in politics, and other related matters. Of course, the 2023 is going to be in our face very soon. And we'll also be looking at what Nigerians are actually expecting from the kind of candidates or aspirants that are declaring their ambitions and aspirations, for the seat of the #1 candidate of the country. So, you are live right now on Cybercrime TV. So let's go into the business of the day properly. We'll be looking at firstly the youth participation on politics. There has been this assumption about young people, how they participate in political processes. It is common and often triggered by lack of understanding or prejudice. This persistent assumptions is accurately characterized by everyday experience of most youth who do not constitute a homogenous group and can lead to discrimination of young people, negatively affecting their capacity to participate in political processes. While some aspects of these negative assumptions about youth are grounded in reality, on the whole, they are misleading. Some of the assumptions about young people that are distorted, the actual picture includes they are apathetic about politics and disengaged from politics. So, for example, they don't bother voting. They lack maturity, experience, and knowledge, implying they are not capable or intelligent enough to make informed decisions, such as when voting are easily manipulated. They are anti-state with a propensity for violence and extremism. These are some of the assumptions that are making rounds in our society. So, Mr. Azanda, do you agree with these assumptions? Can you give us some insights of the importance of youth participation in politics? Are young people politically apathetic? Are they too immature to be included in decision making? Do they have the propensity of violence? So let's look into these matters.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chimaruki. When you talk about young people participating in politics, it has so many dimensions. Now there is a thinking out there that youths are political. They are not interested in political engagements. They feel uninterested with leadership and politics. And that might not be unconnected with the fact that politicians have made it somehow unattractive for those of them who do not understand. For me, I believe that the youths make up over, it's general knowledge that youths make up over 60% of our national population. If politics and leadership should be all-inclusive, then it is very necessary that you engage every strata of society into politics and leadership. Now, talking about getting involved in politics, how old was Anthony Nahoro, the legend who moved the motion for self-government in Nigeria? It was 30 years as at when he moved that motion on the floor of the House of Representatives. That shows you the energy, the charisma, the creativity, and innovative thinking of young people. See, this country cannot move forward if youths don't get involved in political processes. The youths have the vibrancy, they have the creativity, they have the knowledge, they have the enthusiasm to make things happen. Now, if we convert this energy into politics and leadership, don't you think that it will advance the cause of development in this country? Now, I'm of the view that political parties should begin to engage young people by giving us opportunities to fly, flags of parties from governorship level to House of Reps, House of Assembly. We appreciate the President and the leadership of this country for signing the Not Too Young to Run bill. It has afforded young people the opportunity to participate in politics. But again, you know that we run a money politics system in Nigeria. So a lot of young people believe that, yes, you've reduced the age bracket to contest elections, but we don't have the capacity, we don't have the economic wherewithal to run elections. Then again, it behoves on the leadership of political parties to be sincere enough to say, okay, in this election cycle, 2023 is fast approaching, we will give the youths, XYZ percentage to fill in political offices. That is what I think. I think that if this country wants to develop, we need the vibrancy of the young people and we need the experience of the old people working together, for one cause, which is the development of Nigeria. Now, there is a thinking out there, there's a perception out there that young people are not interested. Yes, they are not interested because of the way the old men have made politics look. They've made it appear so dirty. They've made politics look so, like something that any decent person would not want to get involved in. But it's not true. That is not what politics is. Politics is a process, of determining who gets what, when, and how. As a young person out there, you cannot tell yourself that you don't want to get involved, but you want to keep complaining about politicians and how they've not been able to do well. Don't you think that you should put in exactly? See, whether you decide to get involved or not, their policies affect you. Their policies affect your businesses. There are young people who are out there. They are into logistics business right now in River State. There is a government policy out there that is affecting their businesses. Yes. Because you don't want to get involved, these people will continue to make policies that will affect you. So the only way to make things happen, the only way to push this country forward is to get involved in the process, be part of it, and stop complaining and change the narrative to what you want it to be. Take for instance, the energy and vibrancy of the youth during the NSAS campaign. Take the coordination, how they came out together to push a certain cause. I'm not here to talk about whether it was necessary or not. That is a story for another day. I want us to look at the energy they put together, the coordination. Now imagine if young people come together and say, look, we want to support one of our own to be the next governor of River State, to be the next president of Nigeria, who will contribute money to also ensure that we make this thing happen. Do you think it's not going to be possible?
Surely it's going to be.
So I think that the young people need to understand that, look, the destiny of this country is in our hands. They've deceived us with the narrative that youths are leaders of tomorrow. When is tomorrow? Tomorrow starts from now. And it starts from taking that decision to be involved, to get involved. Ask for your own share of whatever it is. ask that a slot be created for you to participate, to contest elections. Not every youth must contest election, but every youth needs to get involved in politics, because politics affects all of us as young people.
Okay, thank you for dealing with that. Well, I want us to look into this particular matter, that says that the youths are anti-state with a propensity for violence and extremism. Now, take for instance, in Rivers State, during the election or before the election, there is always this arrangement about some set of boys who promote violence during the election. And because this thing has been happening over time, and some of these politicians has been using them as a tool to get what they want. Now, in this part of the world, sometimes people just take a half information and assimilate it. Just like in the news, some people just read the headline news and would want to find out the content of the news. So they just assume and they just go out to the society and put out whatever thing they like. Now, some of these youths who are engaged in this cultism and violence during the election, people around the country and outside the country are beginning to see the youths from that angle. Now, do you believe that all the youths share the same ideology?
I do not. I want to differ with that. Now let me correct an impression. Nigerian youths are not tools for political violence. Nigerian youths are not readily available tool for any politician to use to cause crisis or tension during electioneering periods. Nigerian youths are well educated. Majority of Nigerian youths are skilled. Nigerian youths want an opportunity to participate in politics, not as thugs, but as legislators, commissioners, and what have you in government, because we have the capacity to lead. Now, I will not deny, you understand the money politics that we play in Nigeria, or that politicians play in Nigeria. What they do is that they impoverish young people, and then when it's time for election, they bring them as wretched as they've kept them to be, and then use money to influence them. This cannot continue, and that is why I'm a youth, I'm a young person, and that's why I'm here to speak up against it. Now look, no, this cannot continue. This is not what we want for ourselves. This is not who we are. Nigerian youths have the capacity to run the affairs of this country if given the opportunity, and we demand that opportunity. Now, if you say that youths are only involved in election violence, I disagree with that. I'm a young person. Have I been involved in election violence? Will I be involved? The answer is no.
Okay. Also, there is also another assumption, because I just want us to be taking this thing, gradually. One of these assumptions is that the youths lack maturity, experience, and knowledge, and they are not capable or intelligent enough to make informed decisions. Now, if you look at the National Assembly formation, or those that make up the National Assembly from the various states in Nigeria, you can actually find the younger ones too. And from the bills they pass, those that raise these bills, we can also see that the youth are playing a major role.
Yes.
In those bills that they pass. Now, this assumption, could we say that these assumptions are outdated, or they are just generalizing it because there was a vacuum before now?
I feel that those assumptions are unfair. How can you be talking about experience without opportunities? When you create the opportunity for people, then they get the experience while on the job.
Yeah.
You cannot, alienate people from a process and then claim that they are not experienced in that process. It's as simple as that.
True. Yeah, because I believe so, because in trying to teach someone a skill, for the person to practicalize whatever.
It's just like coming up to say that there's a job opening and you're asking for 5 years experience.
Yeah,
you're asking for a 5 years experience from somebody who just came out from National Youth Service Corps. Where is he supposed to get that experience from? That experience can only be gotten if you give him the opportunity to get the job and train him on the process. You get my point? You can't just come and begin to make assumptions that youths are inexperienced. Okay, the people who are leading, how do they have the experience they have? They've gotten over the years. Is it not by being there, getting involved in the process, making mistakes and learning from the mistakes?
Yes.
That's what we're doing. So you cannot come and tell me that because it's my turn, I am not demanding that I want to get involved and you're telling me I'm not experienced. I won't accept that. It's blackmail.
Okay, Mr. Charles, we'll hear from you. With these disturbing assumptions, do you think that those who are supposed to train the youth, that is the leaders, are not playing a compulsory role in guiding and preparing the youth for leadership? As a youth in politics, how can the youth be carried along so that these ugly assumptions about them can be erased?
Thank you very much for that question. Now, first thing first, we need to look at it holistically. Now, a leader in one of the parties said something in 2018, to 2019 election. Senator Andrew he said something. He said that their generations have failed the current generation. And then I was listening to him very, very carefully, and then he made a very striking statement. He said, during this time, he put them, gave them a playing ground to give what they have. Now, I can tell you that at age 38, Prince Will aspired to become governor of River State. That was in 2007. At age 37, Nakuku Peter Sai was commissioner of works. So to say, at age 40, 39, 40, he's already a rep member. So you see, this person, they grew from within the ranks. So when you say that the assumption, I can't say, I don't agree with that perception, because I feel that the leaders they just want to be Methuselah in the office. They don't want to think of growing people to assume their shoes. Now, take for instance the politics of university. You will understand that the leaders have failed. Yes, I would agree that we have leadership deficit, but at the same time we also have followership deficit. Now, when you are asking the question, I will also ask myself in another perception. The people who are retiring, they have failed to groom to assume their offices. But then the youth who are coming up, are they ready? That's another question that we should look at. Now, when you look at this, the reason why they are feeling that we do not have that capacity, that experience, is because that we have not given them enough reason. We've not convinced them enough that we can actually assume their office when they finally retire. I know that politicians are very greedy, very selfish, but then we need to show them that we can assume them. Now, how do we do this? That's where we come in order to shift the narrative. Now, myself and my brother Zunda, we are here. We know that we have the capacity. We know that we can push further. We know that if we talk, people will listen to us. We know that even without the financial war chest, we know that we can say things and along with like minds. And then another we can come up with innovations that can move mountains. But the two of us can't do it alone. Do we have the like minds behind us who can be incorporated into our ideas? That's one very difficult thing we find very hard to get. Now, this perception of a thing that we do not have experience is false. Now, it's false in the sense that they believe that we have not come of age. I am plus 30. At age 38, 20 Prince will aspire to be governor, which is to say I'm even too old to even aspire for the office of a councillor. As of when you started. Yes, I'm even too old. But then I need to show capacity. Now, capacity is not in the aspect of shooting gun. I won't shoot gun. I won't go and steal ballot doors because I am too inclined to go and do that talking. Now, we also need to understand that in politics we have the good, the bad, and the ugly. No one is in politics. But then, the politicians who sees violence as a way of winning election have made us think like that. They will always want to go for the ones who can shoot gun. Thus, making us we that have gone to school to have that intellectual capacity and also have exposed ourselves on how to bring initiatives. They have relegated us. They believe in bringing on board those persons that can shoot gun, because for them that's the definition of capacity. Now the two of us need to change, or the three of us, or even the viewers need to change that mindset. We need to change that mindset, because we are into a very serious political crescendo, and we need to change the dynamics of politics. For the fact that somebody can win an election doesn't mean because he can govern. We will have a disastrous state. So when you are thinking of doing things like this, you should also consider the young, because the young ones are always a bedrock of any society. If you continue to sideline them because you feel that they do not have that experience or the will to do something, they will continue to remain the way they are, because in this life, some people are introverts, people are extroverts. Now you have to, for some person, you just have to meet them and then bring them out. While some person can always come out on their own and then show you what they can do. But then you need to do a SWOT analysis of the persons around you, the youth around you. Bring them, coach them, mentor them, and then you will see that a prosperous River State and a prosperous Nigeria is possible.
Okay, now let's talk about the dichotomy, of leadership and followership, because I can see that there is a very big issue between these two plots. Now, talking about leadership, in each political party, they have organizations, several organizations, pressure groups, and interest groups. More especially, if you're talking about leadership, and we'll have organizations in each of these political parties, yet they blame the youth, that the youth are not experienced, that they are not ready for leadership. Now, in each of these organizations, what did they do? For example, in River State, they have the Unity House Foundation and several other organizations, that mentor youths in leadership and how to, pilot the affairs of the governments when they are opportune. Now, if they are talking about experienced youths that can pilot the affairs of the government, why don't they come down to these organizations where they have the youths trained and bring these people to the limelight or position them so that they can, take over from them when they are retired? What stops them from doing that?
Now, what stops them from doing that, like I said, is for selfish interest. Now, in 2019, I was the coordinator of Toyenku Volunteer Group, TBC, under the leadership of the Flotato. And I was, in my capacity, the way they saw my capacity, they put me in the apathetic leadership of the LG, because they saw what I can do. Now, it's only somebody who is free-minded in politics can see the good in you, the capacity in you, and then bring it up. You understand what I'm saying? Now, the present leaders we have are so self-centered. Like yesterday, I was reading on Facebook about a post where a lady said about the governor's civic reception in Calabar Kingdom, where she said those persons who organized that event did that for their selfish gain. They didn't do it for any reason. That Governor Wike should ignore them. That even if he brings somebody from his family, a person with him, and she will support the person. And so then he brings us to a point that what if the person is bringing in? I'm talking about the dichotomy between followership and leadership. Now, the governor in his leadership have made his followers to think where he's thinking. Now, it's a thing of, because this person is my leader, I am forbidden to be open-minded. The day I speak against his thinking, I will be tagged with rebel. And then the wise man, who is also the founder of Unity House, said something, and I quote him in verbatim: rebel is not a bad thing. Rebel is you challenging the status quo and telling this thing is wrong. And if it's wrong, I am challenging it to be right. Now, so many things have changed over time in politics. Now, those who were in politics as during the military era, and also the transition to democracy, I'm talking about the likes of Data Spiv to Okilo to Ada George, and then the likes of Andrushian too, and who gave birth to the likes of Ritman Meshi, Wiki, and Magnus Abbey, the Cybercrime, all of them. Now, they need to know that as at when they were in power and the people they gave birth to, things have changed. Now you cannot compare. If you want to do a comparison, you can easily do a comparison between Rufus George and Ameshi's tenure. And you see that now there's a big gulf between the two of them. The leadership style and governance, they are not the same. Now, if you bring this into today's political context, you understand that the current crop of followers we have are not always thinking the way the leaders are thinking. Yeah. While they are saying, okay, let's do it big, the follower like myself, I have always disagreed with my boss. I would say, sir, this is what I think. I agree with you, but let me also bring this to this table. In case you're like ADD, let it be that the plan B works. This is what I'm thinking. Now your followership should first be a value to the person who is leading you. You cannot be a sycophant and say you're a follower. There's a big difference between a sycophant and a follower. A sycophant cannot be a follower. A sycophant is an OS person. Somebody who will say about anything you say is right. Now as a follower who wants to add value to leadership, or because I see followership as the flip side of I see followership as the flip side of leadership. As you are following, invariably you are grooming yourself to be a leader. Now, if leader says, Charles Cotterill, come and go and carry this ballot box, you should be able to convince your boss that, sir, I will go, but these are the implications. Why don't you do it this way to achieve the same result? Well, so that now you understand where I'm coming from. Now, we are not inexperienced. We have the capacity. They just need to come down to us, or we will chase them away. We need to come down to our level, reason with us. Can two work together? We will not reason together. So now, if the youth have majority population in Nigeria, the current leaders cannot take such energy for granted.
So invariably, what you're saying is that as a follower, sometimes when your leader makes a decision or takes a decision, what he also expects from you as a follower is to chip in with your own side of what you think it should be, yes, or what you believe, yes, and not just to agree, yes, with whatever thing he says.
Of course,
that makes you a psychopath.
That's mine.
So also, over time,
let me come to that. Let me bring you back to your initial question.
Okay.
We were talking about leaders seeing youth as inexperienced. And I initially said that's a blackmail. That's a blackmail because leadership is not just a title. Leadership comes with certain responsibilities. And part of that responsibility is inspiring followership. A leader should inspire. A leader shouldn't just, make statements based on the selfish reasons or opinion. For a leader to come up and say that young people are inexperienced and that is why they don't want to handle, transfer the saddle of leadership to them, it's untrue.
But their actions tells that.
Hold on. I belong to an organization. I'm the secretary of the Unity House Foundation in Rivers State. It's a non-governmental and leadership training organization. At UHF, we inspire young people to become the best of what they want to become. We expose them to opportunities, entrepreneurship development, skill acquisition. We train them even in communication. We bring out the best out of them. I'm a young person, I'm not old, and I'm the secretary of this organization in Rivers State. And for those who have followed UHF over the years, they know the impact and input of UHF in the political system. So, if UHF has this defeat to act in the capacity of secretary, it means that young people actually have prospects. So it is untrue when they begin to tell you that young people are inexperienced. Do you know what it means to become secretary of such an organization at the state level? What that means is that I'm head of secretariat. I run the administration, the day-to-day running of that organization. If I can do that, don't I have the capacity to run the affairs of this state? So it is very untrue when they tell you about inexperience. No. If leaders tell you that followers are inexperienced, then they failed as leaders.
Exactly.
They failed to provide the kind of followers that should take after them.
That's exactly the question I asked Charles Motrell. That's exactly what I asked him.
And that's what I answered when I said, Andrew introduced said, we have failed in our generation not to have groomed people to assume our office when we retire. Now, if they have failed in that perspective, it is now incumbent on us to now develop ourselves to assume that office. Now, see, I agree with Azuna when they said it is a pure blackmail when they say we do not have experience. And I will tell them that nobody came down from heaven to get experience. Now, as in the good 80s and good 70s, when a graduate comes from school, what they do is, even though you're not employed, you go on a graduate training program on a particular job you want to be employed in.
Yeah,
now after that training, you will not get employed, and then you will not begin to bring out that thing which they trained you for. Now they are grooming you after graduation, but in our present age, they will just put a benchmark of 15 years. See, the moment I dropped my final paper from school, I told myself I won't work for anybody, for any private individual. You know why? Because they will say 5 years experience. I do not have it, and they are not ready to train me, and they would want to exploit everything about me. So you see, it's about you. Now we have live in a technological world where you can go into the cyberspace and then get more experience and develop yourself. Now, in the political settings, you have numerous journals to read, people who have succeeded in politics. When you read about those persons and then you apply their kind of leadership and how they succeeded in politics into yourself, definitely you make exploits. So if they are failed, let them fail in their failure. Now it is now left for us to groom ourselves, develop ourselves, put value, place value on ourselves, and then assume that office they are preparing for their fourth generation automatically.
You know, it really sounds funny when some of these leaders say that the youth has failed. Yet you buy guns to give to these youths during the election.
That is the blackmail we're talking about.
Problem in a certain election.
They don't see us.
What does that show? It shows weakness. Because normally, for an election, for you to win an election, you have to strategize, have a capacity in your locality, go back and make yourself known to your people. And where you were not able to do that, and then you end up buying guns and some other weapons, to give to these youths to go and cause problems somewhere. And after doing that, you blackmail them.
That is why people like you and other interested people need to start a sensitization program, making people understand why they don't need to get involved in election violence, giving them reasons why they should be the best for themselves and society. There is a need for that. There is a need for reorientation, and enlightenment.
Yeah.
Youths need to understand that look, they have grown beyond ballot box snatching and election violence. We need to understand that look, we're the next when it comes to leadership of this country. The future and destiny of this country lies in our hands, and we cannot sabotage ourselves by becoming readily available tools for politicians. It's as simple as that.
Now, in addition to what you have said, like you made reference to the NSAS protest. Now you can imagine the energy. Even the governor of Rivers State even attested to me that the leaders should watch out in 2023, like doing business as usual. You can imagine the energy the NSAS young ones put in that. In fact, the money they brought out for that protest alone is enough to campaign for any of their preferred choice. So you see, it's a matter of young persons coming together, having a common goal, adopt the person we feel is most qualified, a young person who can manage the economy of Nigeria, and then we are going to do.
So, thank you, Mr. Charles, and as that goes for, I think we have said enough on this youth in politics, youth participation in politics. I want us to, discuss on another societal issue which has become a disturbing sign amongst our teenagers as well as the youth, which is drug abuse. Over time or lately, you know, in the social media, we've seen several videos, you know, showing how some of these youths have been using their fellow humans, you know, to do sacrifices for whatever reason they think, you know, for their own selfish reason. And most of all these activities, most of all these actions are not far from drug abuse, because someone who is mentally sound, someone whose mind is occupied with something genuine, will never think about using any human for sacrifice. Now, talking about drug abuse, there is a growing trend of drug abuse among the youth, which can be ignored in today's society, and it has been reported that the numbers of young people were reporting weekly consumption of alcohol, and young drinkers, they are consuming larger amounts for pair drinking occasions. Mr. Charles, what do you think is leading to these abnormalities? Can we point out the causes of this drug abuse? Why did you go into drug abuse?
Thank you very much. And then I can say that first, peer group pressure, peer group, poor parental upbringing. I do mind. Now let me explain what I mean by peer group pressure. You see, drug is not something you are forced to go into. It's something you voluntarily want to take, either by prescription by the doctor or by any pharmacy, as a case may be. Now I want to take, for example, cough syrup, tramadol, and the rest of them, simply good. Now, cough syrup are for babies who have cough. Tramadol is a painkiller, and we also have simply good, which was made for babies who are restless. Give them 1 or 2 milligrams, and then they just lose them and then they rest. Now it has now come of age that even adults, young teenagers abuse simply good, that they would drink 3, 4, 5 syrup bottles just to get high. Now it didn't just happen. It is because of peer group pressure. Now when somebody who is into this have a friend, and then the person always see the person doing it, and he keeps doing it, and the person will go to work. Now this thing you're trying, this thing you're doing, how do you feel? Can I have a taste of it? Now before you know, the person have a taste of it. It is voluntary, it's not forced. Now the person tests this, and then from 1, 2, 3 occasions, it becomes an addiction. It becomes an addiction. Now another thing is poor parental upbringing. Now when a wise man will say that the busy mouth will always talk to a child, do not do this, while the eye will always look at a child until the child becomes unbearable. Now, because we now have a society where parents live I don't care life, or becomes too career minded, I am always busy, I don't have time, and then you bring a house head to the house, and then the person cares about your child. You don't know what your child is doing behind you. You can't be too busy for your child. As a father, as a mother, you can't be too busy for your children. You have to continue to educate them about drugs. You are the first teacher in the house or in their life. Now, when we do not have this happening in our family, we tend to see children abuse drugs. Now, the drug, a drug the father they buy, they say, okay, after work, let me take this one to ease my stress. The child will just go and then finish the whole of 500 milligrams, and then the person begins to misbehave anyhow. So you see, these things do not just happen. It happens because we have a failed society in the first place. The agencies who are in charge in curbing this drug menace are not living up to expectation. Like the NDLA, I will always call them out. They need to up their game. If this a particular drug, it is country bound, do not allow it. Do not, for any reason, for any reason, compromise it. Do not allow it to enter the country. Now, when you allow these things to enter because you want to get money, that's when you see the society being so bastardized and you see junkies everywhere. People cannot do without drugs. In fact, at the point, I had a friend who tells me that without tramadol, he cannot do anything. I was shocked. And then you ask yourself, how many reasonable youths are we going to have in the next 5 years?
You know, also,
it is very mind-blowing.
Sorry to cut you off.
Very mind-blowing.
Reports have also shown that the social media is also one of the tools, you know, that promotes this drug abuse. Because sometimes when these teenagers or these youths, they watch movies or they use their phones, it's like while they are doing that, they have freedom. So the contents of these movies or what they see in the phone makes it looks like it's a freedom. Yeah, like it's a normal thing when they see people smoke and take drugs. You know, so without a proper guidance from the parents.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes, the internet, you cannot, because some persons are misusing the internet, say the internet is bad. I will disagree with you on that. But then, no thanks to the celebrities who are doing this. And then, because the youth or the teenagers do not just engage in it, it is because these celebrities see it as a way of life. And then you see them, they hang their marijuana in their mouth, and then you see them open their tongue, and the tongue is blue. And then a young teenager of 15, 16, 17 will be wondering what is coloring the tongue. And then you say, what's that now? What's the name? What do they call it? Refinol, as they call it. No. I belong to
you. You cause all these names easy. It's like you make researches.
No, of course. No. I live. It's like somebody who's from university going to school to go and study political science. You can't go to school because already the university is already politics. So refinol, you say what is coloring the tongue, and then they make research, and then is this wrong? And then by the time they take 1-2 pills, because they saw it in the internet. Now you see celebrities pouring alcohol, they will want to try it. For the celebrity, it's a way of life, but they do not know the content they are showing to the children who are coming up.
But sorry to cut you off. When you can't just blame the celebrities outrightly, because in each of their movies, there is something they write there. They say parental advisory on the, is it not?
Now
that 18.
You are talking about the movie.
18. Yeah, sorry, I'm coming.
No, sorry. You're coming from the angle of the movie. They will always say, yeah, this program is rated 18. Do not allow a child who is between 13, 14, 15 to watch it.
Yes.
Now, what I'm saying is live video program being engaged by these celebrities. I'm not about a movie. I'm in a club. They are in a club and then they are doing live video. And they are seeing them pouring alcohol, and you see their tongue, and then they are all eyed. They even make love on live program.
So what we are trying to say now, what you're trying to say is that even the managers of these places that these celebrities go to act their movies or to enjoy themselves, even the management do not follow up, you know, on how to curtail these abuses. So all they think is just about their money. About their money, as long as people are coming to buy drinks to just, you know, make them have money. Is that what it is?
When you say there is a rising trend of drug abuse or abuse of illicit drugs in our society, that's an understatement. Because the menace of drug abuse has come to stay with us. It's a reality right now. It's something we're fighting at the moment.
No, sorry, why I said it's a rising trend. Why I said it's a rising trend is because the teenagers are beginning to engage in it more.
I want you to understand that.
I want you to understand that. And that's why we are seeing it in our social media right now and all over the news.
No, I want you to understand.
Before now, it was not like this.
I want you to understand that drug abuse is one ill that we currently have to face with in our society as of today. And now, you begin to ask yourself, what are we doing or what are we not doing as a people that has brought us to where we are today? Then you realize and agree with me that the various agents of socialization have failed in their responsibility. The family, religious organizations, educational institutions, peer groups, the mass media, they've all failed in their responsibility to ensure that we have a stable society where there are sane minds. You cannot tell me that. He talked about poor parenting. While I might want to agree with that, it is not always the case. We have an organization that should be in charge of, upholding the values and virtues that are right in this country. We have organizations like the National Orientation Agency. What is the National Orientation Agency doing about the menace of drug abuse amongst youths and young people in our society? What are the primary and secondary schools doing to curb or reduce? Because at this point, it has come to stay. You cannot eradicate it totally, but you can reduce it. What are these institutions doing to reduce it?
Especially the disciplinarians in the school.
You get my point. You will now understand that, look, we are gradually losing our values as a people. Young people want to feel high. They want to feel among. It's normal for teenagers. There's an age a teenager gets to, and they want to explore. They are at that age where they want to explore, they want to adventure, they want to really know things for themselves. They don't know, they're tired of asking questions. There is an age a child gets to, he becomes more inquisitive about a lot of things. They want to see for themselves. How have the parents been able to prepare them for times like that? You find that a lot of parents have not really done what they ought to do with regards to preparing children for that stage. The National Orientation Agency is not doing so much as we speak. There's no sensitization. The mass media, the TVs and radio stations in the country are not doing so much to curb drug abuse. You have music videos, celebrities, promoting alcohol, promoting drugs and all of that. And you bring these contents and you allow children to view them. It has a way of tampering with their psychology. So we must understand that, look, drug abuse is an epidemic. Both the government and the people need to come all out to fight it. On the part of the government, there needs to be, laws, not just for those who are taking it. What about the suppliers? How does it come through? If you say that you are arresting somebody for taking marijuana, who supplied it? How did it come through? What measures are you taking to ensure that it doesn't flow? So there has to be laws to tackle the inflow of some of these substances.
Especially because
the government is not doing enough. The agencies in charge of orientating and sensitizing people are not doing enough. We need to begin to ask questions. What is the role of the National Orientation Agency? What is the budget of the National Orientation Agency? What are their functions? Are they living up to expectation? If they are not, do we need to scrap this agency so that they are using taxpayers' money? And drug abuse is a very big challenge because it begins with drug and it ends up with ritual killing, stealing, election violence, what have you.
Everything negative.
It leads to a lot of negative vices in the society. It's a social problem. And it needs the attention of all relevant stakeholders to address it. The problem we have right now is that we're looking at it from the surface. We're looking at this challenge from the surface until it gets to a point where it becomes a normal.
They use drugs and they need conscientization because they do not really know what they are going into. Do you know that when someone loses his or her mental health or becomes mentally imbalanced, two things happen. Depression comes in. Then after depression, the person might go insane. And when you go insane, you become a burden to your own family. Because one, they have to take you to a psychiatric, and as they take you to a psychiatric, they have to spend money to make you get well. In that process, depression comes to the parents too because they will be seeing their own child behave in such a way. Some of them don't even end up in the psychiatric, they end up in the streets. Now you become a societal problem. You become a nuisance to the society. So these are the
Have you also looked at it from the production angle, where part of the effect of drug abuse could be reduction in workforce, reduction in productive force, productive capacity of the economy. Because these are young people ordinarily that should get involved in
That's why I said
production
the idle mind.
at different
The
strands.
idle mind.
You understand? Either working for somebody or working for themselves, but improving the economy generally. So when you have a lot of young people who, instead of improving the society with what they have inside of them, but becoming problems to the society, what kind of society are we looking at?
The effect of drug abuse cannot be overemphasized. It leads to many negative. Everything about drug abuse is negative. First of all, a drug user is prone to having a failed relationship, a failed marriage, selling off of property, becoming a nuisance to the society, becoming a threat to the society at large. Now, when somebody who is in this nation gets into the streets, you can imagine the havoc that will rain upon the society. So, in all of this, it is incumbent on the government to be up and doing. But first of all, you cannot take away the parental aspect of drug abuse. That has been overflowed. But then you have agencies. Now, the worst scenario is we do not have rehabilitation centers. We do not have a sound rehabilitation center. It's not just about taking somebody when you run mad after using drugs, you can take it to the psychiatrist. Yes. But when you become addicted to it, you should be taken to the rehabilitation center. Do we have such in our society? No, of course. Now the NDLEA, I feel they're just chasing some.
There are rehab centers, but maybe you could just say that there are not many of them, and people are not aware. You see where the media comes in. There has to be some level of awareness with regards to issues of intake of illicit drugs, the effects, impact on society, and a lot of people are not aware of what they are doing. So I believe that there is more to be done, and everybody needs to get involved. Just like security is everybody's business. You know, this campaign is also collective because it can lead to breakdown of law and order, which will ultimately affect every member of society. So we all need to get involved to say no to drug abuse. Sometime last year, the Unity House Foundation, my organization, did a campaign against drug abuse, and the theme of that program was United Against Drug Abuse. We had speakers come to talk about the effect of drug abuse and its impact on society. I believe that every necessary stakeholder needs to get involved. We need to continue to speak. It's not just about coming to the studio to talk about drug abuse and its effects. It's something we need to keep preaching. Maybe somehow
There will be change.
Yeah, there will be change.
Yeah, I believe so. There is going to be a change because when they were born, nobody was born, into this earth to be a drug person, or to abuse a drug. I think all these things stems from peer group and poor parenting, and also some of the things we see in the social media. I think in all. Most of these youth, they need directive, they need proper guidance, and also engage them fully. Their mind needs to be, fully engaged. Because someone that is working in a place like Dofi Primary Food, you engage yourself from morning till evening. Within that time, there is no way you can leave your company.
You are tired.
There's no way you can leave your company and come out to go and look for a job.
Go and take your
By the time your time elapses, in the company, you go home tired. And you just eat and finally sleep off. The next day, you're going back to your work, to your company. Or someone that's a banker. And do you have time to do that? So all these things, I think, it boils down to a mistake that our leaders has been doing it before now. And
Still doing.
are they still doing?
Mistakes are done.
So that's it on drug abuse and how it affects the youth. And let's just touch a little before we wrap it off on the cybercrime. On cybercrime, over time we have seen so many things happening on social media. The youth's voice, especially using their fellow humans, the other agenda for rituals. Now, I don't know how this has become a norm. Even the ritual, the activities for the ritual is becoming a norm.
the other day, is it 2 weeks ago, there was one on social media about 2 or 3 boys sitting in a covert, you know, defecating and eating their defecation. I don't understand, you know. I don't know where this is coming from, because in the past, it was not like this. Then we used to have youths who are more dedicated on, you know, to education. And at the end, before they even come out from school, they talk about how to get jobs genuinely, and then they start making ends to take care of their family, and then get married and do every other thing that a man or a woman is supposed to do genuinely. But these days, it's like it's not working anymore like it used to be. So I think that there is a problem, there is a vacuum in our educational system. There's a big vacuum in the educational system, because if you check very well, those who are fully engaged or involved in this cybercrime, they are people with half education. Probably because they couldn't get the degree, or even when they went to the school, you know, they just buy off their degree, or during their exams they just pay off like that and just come out without getting the full responsibility of what they went for. At the end, they just found themselves, you know, in front of a laptop, and then because they've been coached on how to, you know, say things to these people, they fraud, and that's where they end up.
Now, will you say it is because of lack of education? Somebody who can operate a computer, it's not an illiterate.
No, do you think? I think that's the skill.
No.
Well, I think that it's not totally correct to say that it is lack of education that has led people into cybercrime, what is popularly known as Yahoo. Look, 80% of people involved in cybercrime are undergraduates. They are in our campuses. They are in school, they are students. So you cannot say that it is a lack of education. I feel that there is a decline in our values, in our value system as Nigerians. Before now, the value system was that people appreciated hard work. Everybody likes success, but people questioned the sources of success. You cannot just come back home as an undergraduate, somebody who doesn't have a job, with certain items that are valuable without being asked where you got them from. Even somebody who's working, you're working in an organization and your salary is 50,000 naira, and you come back home with a Lexus EX350, and your parents don't ask.
Don't question your source of income.
Question where it's coming from. You see that there is a decline over the years. There has been a decline. People don't care anymore. A lot of people have gone to school. They didn't find jobs after graduation. Out of depression, out of frustration, they get involved in crime. They come up and they become millionaires all of a sudden, and nobody asks. Nobody has bothered to ask the sources of their wealth. And you feel that we don't have a problem. It's a social problem. Because nobody asks questions, people are now free to do what they like. See, the internet or cybercrime, popularly known as Yahoo, is a major problem in our society, because it has, given our country a bad name. Outside the shores of this country, Nigerians are seen as fraudsters. If you want to do legitimate business outside Nigeria, you're being suspected. You're being scrutinized, There are so many processes you have to go through because of the reputation of this country by some elements out there who do not really understand that what they are doing is wrong. So when you say that it is as a result of poor education, we asked somebody who can operate a computer, somebody who go for classes. They actually go for classes for that. I saw on the internet children within the ages of adolescents who said they were traveling to go and learn how to do Yahoo. It means that there is a school for that. Is that not education? There is a decline. There is a decline.
Okay. I totally do not agree with the declining, because we have a value system. Yeah, we have to differentiate between skill and education. Of the truth, someone that has a sound education
if we have a very good system, you know, from our educational aspect, I don't think any of our youth will want to go into Yahoo, because firstly, they will have to tell you the dangers of involving yourself in any
So have you not seen graduates of computer science?
Yes, yes, that is where I'm coming. Now, if we have a sound educational system, none of our youth will go into the cybercrime.
I disagree a bit with you. Now, let me say this. From the aborigines, that's when this 419, because 419 is a code, it's a criminal code in Nigerian law. In fact, it's the most famous criminal code known in the world in Nigeria, as well as in Nigerian law. Now, as of then, those who do 419 are very smart people. They don't go into ritualism. 419 people are very smart. Somebody who is not educated will not have the intellectual capacity to be able to convince and resolve that someone is business. There must be a very strong tongue to convince somebody. That's as of then. What we have now, we do not have them. We have some teenagers who are pressured by society to make money, and then they just go into ritualism. Now, what they do is not
modern ritualism.
What they do is not 419. What they do is ritual. They don't go. Now, what they do, they know the importance of blood sacrifice. Now, you see, even the Bible cannot be misunderstood. There is always a price paid for blood sacrifice. They know the importance of blood sacrifice, and then when they meet the so-called person who will do this ritual initiation for them, they tell them this is what you must do. And when they do, they see the money coming. Now, when they do that, they have a target. They kill so person for a particular person they want to hunt. So you see, this ritual of this Yahoo Plus or Yahoo as you want to call it, didn't just start today. It started before. Now, young ones are always peer group pressure. We have a failed educational system. The people who are doing this are undergraduates. Most of them are undergraduates, while some of them are even graduates. Now, we have a poor educational system that you see young ones dragging parking lots with lecturers. Now, you see parents see their young ones bringing home a car worth 10, 12 million, and they don't ask me. My father told me, I may not have money to give to you, but I have a name for you to flourish on. The day you bring a car to my house that I do not know your source of income, I will question you. So to say, I have a need to protect. Now, when I say I have a need to protect, I am also talking about parental upbringing. The orientation you put into your children. Now, when you see, when somebody has a sound family background, a person will always have to ask himself, what I'm going into, will it tell me about my family? That's a very big question. Now, when you don't have a good parental background, a good family background, anything can go. Now, you see young boys, it is now a pandemic. You see young boys, what does a 14, 16, 17 years old boy wants to do with 70 million, 50 million and a 40 beds? People are asking questions.
There was a video on social media.
Now the reason why it is flourishing is because the law enforcement agency are now benefiting from this menace. Now you see, the policeman will stop a boy, 18 years, he will stop him. He knows that this boy is a young boy. He will not arrest him. He will only tell him, transfer some amount of money to my account, and then he goes not free. This is the problem we have in the society. So you see, the parents are failing. Government are failing, the society has failed, the environment, everything about us. It's right, decline in value. So until we have a mass protest or we come together, anything, an injury to one is an injury to all. Now the day they will come against my father, now today they may not have come against my father because he's not yet the target. Now the day they will, my father do not have, does not have an 100% knowledge about the internet. Now, when they come after him, he will definitely fall. And when I am become a victim, automatically. Now, if we don't come together unanimously and campaign against these boys, and then tell the law enforcement agencies to arrest them, prosecute them, because I know that the 419 criminal code always says that a person who takes money or steals something from somebody from a false pretense will serve a jail term of 7 years. Now, until you begin to enforce this law, enforce it to the extreme, people will not learn. we cannot live in we cannot continue to live in a lawless society, and then you see the law enforce the people who are to enforce the law benefiting from the same crime. It is
in addition to what he has just said, you see the problem of Yahoo, internet, cyber fraud, like you call it, has to do with government laws and those implementing those laws. Anti-graft agencies are saddled with responsibilities of tackling issues of cybercrime. But have you noticed on social media that there is no week that passes by without, anti-graft agencies parading suspected Yahoo boys?
Yeah.
And even with all of that drama, they keep increasing. So what is happening? Is it that they are not prosecuting them, or it's just a show?
A melodrama.
And see,
What they do is this. After they showcase them, nobody hears about them.
That's my point.
I think our judiciary is also making a very big mistake. I think they should create a place where these people can be prosecuted.
The system has been porous. The system has been polluted by very evil people, to the extent that even when you arrest these boys, you do nothing with them beyond the show, beyond the drama that comes out of it. They bail themselves and go back home. They believe that nothing will happen. They are connected to those who are above the law.
yeah.
They have their contacts even within the security agencies.
Yes, of course.
They have their contact with people who can actually make calls and get them out of it. Now, if you don't have stringent measures, to tackle the crime that they are committing, it only encourages more people to do it with the belief that nothing will happen. When you have a society that does not encourage hard work, you encourage hard work by seeing somebody who graduates from the university with a good grade, giving him jobs, creating employment for people. That's the way to encourage hard work. How do you expect a young boy who has friends that are into cybercrime, that have made so much money, to respect a graduate who has no job?
It's a pandemic.
We live in a society where, at the moment, the highest bidder carries the day. How do you expect someone who has such friends that can spend any amount of money on frivolity to respect somebody who works hard and has no results? So you see that the government needs to create an environment that promotes and encourages hard work. The government also needs to, attend to these laws. If we have laws that should prosecute criminals, including Yahoo boys, then those laws should actually work. It shouldn't just
until there is a jail time, until they begin to serve jail time according to the law. When the law is enforced to the extreme, that will be stability.
Maybe you don't understand that there is a direct link between Yahoo and ritual killing.
There is.
And nobody is saying anything about it. Last week, the House of Reps called for a state of emergency on ritual killing. They understand that, look, it has become an issue. Nigerians are dying almost every day as a result of ritual killing. Nobody is saying anything about it. Who is involved? Why are they involved? To what end? What is the link? Let us ask those questions. We need to ask questions. We need to know. There needs to be investigations. What are the security agents doing about it? Who have they caught? How far have they gone with the prosecution? Because when you set examples, a lot of people will learn from it. Well, I feel that they are not serious with all of this. And because they are not serious,
that's why they are taking advantage.
No, it will keep happening. Until we become serious about it, it will keep happening. Or do you expect Nigerians to take laws into their hands?
My final words.
So you become a victim too.
No, my final words for this very topic of this process. I used to know a friend who told me, "Oh boy, leave this thing." And we're not going to spend here. Now, they believe in any which way. The first example they will give to you is the politicians are stealing our money. That's the first Yahoo. So mine shouldn't be an exception. So they feel that we are doing the same thing. They feel that any which way is a way. Before they eat frog, eat the big frog, where even the small frog kills. So they will go any length to make sure they get what they want. And when they get what they want, the law enforcement agencies who have the statutory role to arrest and prosecute them will block them on the way. Tell them, I know what you're doing. transfer so amount of money or go to jail.
So that means there is a radicalization also going on.
Of course.
Because before they do this thing, they have been radicalized. You know, their mentality have been positioned. Yeah, their mentality have been positioned in a certain way. You know, for them to just believe that this is what they should do.
When I do it, when they arrest me, I do myself.
Yeah,
that's it.
So now it comes to you now understand that there is a decline in our value system. The abnormal has become normal.
yeah.
And it takes all of us to correct this anomalies in our society. It's a collective responsibility.
Wow, it's been wonderful having you guys on the studio today. We'll be wrapping it up here for today. You've been live on Cybercrime TV, and the discussion we'll be having is between Azunda Gospower and Charles Cottrell. These are young politicians from Rivers State. They are entrepreneurs.
Young nationalists.
Oh.
I'm not a politician.
So,
young nationalists.
I'm not a politician.
Please, you need to follow us on our social media handles. Cybercrime TV on YouTube, Cybercrime TV on Facebook page, Cybercrime TV on Twitter, Cybercrime TV on Instagram. Please do not fail to subscribe, follow and like our activities. We'll be wrapping it up here today. Our next program is going to be televised on our page, so you know who is coming up next with another wonderful topic. Thank you. It's been wonderful. Thank you very much.